Hi everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. Guess what? I am in Stuttgart, Germany to do many interesting things. Everything from driving a new Porsche to visiting a Porsche Museum, Porsche factory, and actually all things to do with the automotive industry and history. It's all right here, and there's no other place in the world where you can get so much exposure to things like the history of automobile from Mercedes, from Porsche, or even Audi, and also to be able to visit some of these factories, and in some cases even drive some of the latest models. For example, yesterday I took out a Porsche 911 Carrera S as a Porsche Drive rental. That's right, anyone can actually rent out a Porsche right here at the head office and then go for a drive a day, two, or even longer. So I did that yesterday to drive the 911, and today I have access to a press car, which is the new refreshed Porsche Taycan, and a lot more to tell you about that later on. But for now, what I wanted to do is to share with you this excitement of being in Stuttgart, because honestly, this is where you learn so much about the history of automobile, but also in particular, all things to do with Porsche. So come and visit in Stuttgart, Germany, because I'm going to give you 7 reasons why you're going to love your visit to Porsche right here in Stuttgart, Germany. Let's go. Welcome back. So I am in Stuttgart, Germany, not just to drive a new Porsche, but also to visit the Porsche factory, the Porsche Museum, as well as the Mercedes Museum, and many other things as well. It's one of the most interesting places to visit if you love cars and if you love Porsche. But if you just like to know anything about automobiles and the history itself, this is a place to visit. And like I said, I'm going to give you 7 reasons why you need to make a trip over here to Stuttgart, Germany. But right off the bat, before I go too far, let me first just do a quick quality audit on this 2024 Porsche Taycan Turbo, which is my press car. It's the refreshed model with all kinds of changes, including new power output, improved range, and improved charging times as well. And there's so many interesting things that I want to share with you. But first, I'm going to measure the gap and check for alignment of the body panels. So I got my usual tools. I'm going to measure for alignment and also for the gaps. This one, by the way, is built right here in Stuttgart, just across the street. I'm very close to the Porsche Museum, and also right across from the global headquarters. And then, you know what, within 15 minutes from here, everything to do with Porsche is around here, including the factory tour, which I'm doing tomorrow. But anyways, let me measure the gap here. And between the hood and the front fender is 3 millimeters right here. But more impressively, the alignment is perfect. You can tell that there's nothing that's out of alignment. It looks fantastic on this 24 Taycan. Between the front fender and the front door is 3.2 millimeters. Between the front door and the rear door, also 3.2 millimeters. And between the rear door and the rear quarter panel is actually 3.1 millimeter. And then between the rear hatch and the rear quarter panel, it's also 3.1 millimeters. So the gaps are excellent, actually rivaling or better than some Lexus models. But I'm more interested in not just the gap, but also the alignment of the panels and the consistency of the paint. And you can tell these are not easy manufacturing things to do because of the shape of the actual panels. It's bulging out this way, lots of curves. This will be a nightmare for engineers to figure out. But when I look at it, all the panels align perfectly. There's nothing that's out of place, no distortion. And the paint job is so fantastic. I can actually see this kind of lines reflected off the sky, and it's very consistent. And also almost no orange peel, which surprised me, because sometimes German cars have a fair amount of orange peel, but not much. This one, by the way, is called the Oak Green Metallic. It's a new color for new Taycan. It reflects back on some of the older dark green colors we had in the past from Porsche. So it's a beautiful color, really matches the Taycan in terms of the overall look and feel. So I really like the color. It might not be for everyone, but looks fantastic. This new Taycan also have a refreshed front, rear, and some changes to the wheel as well. Even the emblem is a little bit different. It's called the Turbo Night, kind of dark shade of gray. And it's all cool looking because this year is also the 50th anniversary of Turbo for Porsche. So many interesting things to celebrate. But in terms of quality for exterior panels, it looks excellent. Let's take a look at the inside. Okay, so now I'm inside the Porsche Taycan Turbo that I have for the week. And it's a beautiful vehicle with so many options and features now. They've updated the interior so that it kind of mimics all of the newer Porsches. and so which means I don't have a turn key over here. It's also a push button, but also I have a panel option here as well, so you can get passenger side panels, which is hard to see from a driver's side. But many interesting cool stuff, even something as simple as this roof, which can change the transparency. So I can, for example, click on here, and then I can change it so that I get different patterns. If I did bold, then I get this cool kind of mixture of different shapes. Absolutely cool to look at that. I can do semi-transparent, or I can do matte, completely matte, so I can't really see anything, or clear, which is probably what you normally have. So interesting option just in terms of roof as well. But all this has been facelifted and improved as well. Much faster response, very clear digital displays, and as usual you still get the traditional Porsche stuff like the drive selection here, because it has a sports chrono, and also it's got two nicely placed cup holders. But if you just look at the quality of the stitching here, it's just quite incredible. You don't quite see this level of leather quality from other manufacturers, and I have been to Porsche factories many times, but I'm going again tomorrow and I'll see some of these in place. But in terms of leather work, it's just fantastic. Everything lines up. So for example, if you look at the stitching here, it lines up on that side. That's pretty hard to do. Not too many companies can do that. Look at all the trims, everything fit, and just the feel of the materials as well, the selection of leather. This one has lots of leather in it, all leather here, and now Cantera on the ceiling as well. But if you just look at all of the matching of the parts, it's fantastic. The fit and finish is really good, and also just the overall design, it's clean and crisp, but also beautiful at the same time. Something that I think the Japanese brands like Lexus need to learn from Porsche, because Porsche does such a fantastic job with the interior design. So quality looks fantastic inside and out on this Stuttgart built Taycan. So I'm very impressed with the whole quality, partly because, as you may or may not know, Porsche adopted Toyota production system many years ago, 20-30 years ago, when they had some issues with their quality and production. They actually hired ex-Toyota managers and product development people, and they overhauled the entire manufacturing to reflect better quality and more efficiency, and that's truly reflected in today's Porsche models. But let me come back to the 7 reasons why you need to come and visit Stuttgart, Germany. First being the fact that this is the global headquarters for Porsche right here in Stuttgart, which means you have access to many different things, not just the factory, not just the museum, but you can kind of walk around many public areas where it's surrounded by Porsche buildings, and it's such a cool place to visit because you get the vibe of how Porsche engineers and Porsche designers kind of work, what kind of environment they have. It's got old brick building, it's got cool buildings, and it's such a nostalgic feel that if you're a Porsche fan, or if you're just an automotive fan in general, you'll kind of appreciate this whole atmosphere. So being able to come to the global head office location for Porsche, I think is a huge deal. And if you are a Porsche owner or just a Porsche enthusiast, you've got to come here and take everything in, because this is all Porsche right here, and it's such a fun place to be. The second reason why you want to visit Stuttgart is the fact that you can go and see a Porsche factory as well. It's available to the public. You don't need any kind of special qualification to actually go and see these factories. You just have to book in advance because it's often fully booked. But if you're fortunate, you can see a couple different factories, one for Porsche Taycan, like this one, which is a brand new factory that they produced for Taycan. But also, if the timing works out, you can see the Porsche 911 factory, which is cool. That's the one that's built in the original building. It's still surrounded by bricks, and it's an old building, but of course, they build the 911s there. They used to build the 718s there as well, but that moved to a different factory now. But you get to see the Porsche 911 being built. And while I can't really show you the factory because I'm not allowed to film there, even as a media, I just want to let you know how impressed I am with the Porsche factories in general, because they adopted Toyota production system many decades ago, and I still think it's the only company outside Japan that kind of gets it. They understand lean manufacturing, agile thinking, Toyota production system, supply chain efficiency. Those kind of stuff are hard to do these days, hard to adopt and hard to implement, but Porsche has done it and has been doing it for many years. and you can see that crystal clear when you take the factory tour. So there are some other factories you can visit within Germany, but Stuttgart being the head office, and this is where the 911s are built, this is where I suggest that you go. Again, booking in advance, at least 2 or 3 months, maybe even longer sometime. Then come to the Porsche Museum, and then that's where they will start the tour and take you right into the factory. It's a very comprehensive factory tour. You get to see everything and see your dream car being built, which for me is a 911, and such an amazing production processes. So that's the second reason why you want to be here. The third reason why you want to be in Stuttgart, Germany is the fact that you can rent out some of your dream Porsche models, including the top of the line 911, even 911 Turbo is available to rent. Now it's not cheap to rent these vehicles because we rented a 911 yesterday, Carrera S, but it was about $500 US or about $650 Canadian for 24 hours. So it's actually not as bad as I thought, because we rent out some fancy cars from some of your local rental agency. It'll cost you a couple $100 these days. So to pay $500 US or $650 Canadian to have access to a 911, a brand new 911 for full 24 hours, that's pretty good. If you don't need sleep, you just keep driving Autobahn and you can probably go to a different country and come back perhaps. But they also have a Porsche 718, Boxster GTS 4.0. They have Porsche Cabriolet, as well as Taycan, Macan. Even the newest Macan EV was available in the rental unit. So there are many choices. They do get booked up, so I suggest you make some reservation earlier. We were lucky to be able to find the 911 Cabriolet Carrera S version yesterday, and we took it out for a beautiful drive, and maybe I can talk about that a little bit more later on. But it was just really unique to be able to walk into the museum, give out your driver's license and passport as well, and then take out your latest Porsche for a drive. It was such a simple process, in some way easier than renting a car in US or Canada, although you do have to keep in mind that you need an international driver's license permit. But aside from that, everything else was included, including the insurance, and I had a blast taking that 911 out, because even for us as a media or journalist, it's not always easy to access some of the newer models. But at the Porsche Drive in Porsche Museum, you have access to almost every Porsche, and that is a difficult thing to do. So it's a lot of fun. If you come to Stuttgart, you've got to take the 911s out, go on the Autobahn and actually hit 200, 250, maybe even 300 kilometers per hour. It's a bit of a shaky experience perhaps at that speed, but once in your lifetime, you've got to drive the Autobahn. And the fourth reason why you want to be in Germany, especially Stuttgart, is because of the Porsche Museum. Yes, at the Porsche Museum, not only can we rent out some new Porsches, arrange for factory tours, but the museum itself is eye-opening. It's one of the most beautiful places to visit, especially if you're a Porsche fan or Porsche owner, because it goes through everything. It goes through the whole history of Porsche, from the very first production car, which is serial number 001, a beautiful Porsche 356, all the way going through every single history. And because this year is the 50th anniversary for Porsche Turbo, there's a special area displaying many different turbo models, which is really cool. And I really enjoyed the tour. I spent 2 or 3 hours. I could have easily spent the whole day. And every season or every year they have a different theme with different topics, so when you come, you'll discover something new as well. But just to be able to see older Porsches, newer Porsches, and everything in between, it's a wonderful experience, and it's definitely one of the highlights for coming to Stuttgart, because nowhere else in the world can you have an access to all this history to do with the Porsche brand. And while you are at the Porsche Museum, you cannot miss one more thing, which is my fifth point, which is the Porsche Museum shop. It's a kind of a small shop, but it has everything that you want to buy to do with Porsche. Everything from Porsche shoes, to luggage, to clothing, to pens, well, you name it, they have it. And you're going to have to bring your wallet and your credit card with you, because you're going to see so many things you want to buy that you might end up spending a little bit more money than you thought. So be prepared for that. Once again, if you're a Porsche fan, if you're a Porsche owner, or just the fact that you like Porsche brand in general, then go to the museum, then go to the shop, and be prepared to spend an hour at the shop just looking for things. And kids love it too. There's some kids stuff over there, and of course everyone dreams about owning a Porsche or having a Porsche. So even though you might not have an actual Porsche car, you can have a token of it by buying a Porsche shirt or Porsche shoes, and it's kind of cool and a fun place to be. Sixth reason is the fact that there are also some really cool Porsche dealers right here in Stuttgart. Obviously, being a global headquarters, There are many, many interesting dealers to visit, but especially the Porsche dealers are massive here in comparison to what we have at least in Canada. And they have some cool things to see because the newer models arrive in Germany first, so you'll get to see them before we see them in North America. So even though this is my 10th visit to Germany right here in Stuttgart, I always find it really fascinating to be able to go to a dealership, the museum, the factory, and see some of the latest models that we have yet to see in North America. So for example, this Porsche Taycan I'm driving is a new facelifted version, and we don't have this yet in North America as a press vehicle. For that matter, I'm one of the very first journalists to drive this one right here in Germany, but globally as well. So I'm really excited about that. So you have an early access by visiting some of the dealership. There was a Porsche dealership right across the museum, but that has been moved to a new place not too far away, about 10 minutes away. And it's such a fascinating place to be because you have many access to a number of Porsche dealerships right here. The seventh and the final reason why you want to be in Stuttgart, Germany is the fact that there are also other interesting brands you can visit. Porsche, being the head office, of course, has the most amount of things you can see because everything to do with Porsche is right here. But there's also a number of other things you can do. For example, the Mercedes-Benz Museum is very close by, 15 minutes away. It's massive, even bigger than the Porsche Museum. It's perhaps one of the biggest museums in the world, and it goes through all of the history of automobiles because Mercedes and Benz and Daimler had long history being one of the very first companies to build four-wheel cars or automobiles in general. So there's lots of history there. You can spend a whole day at the museum. Kids will love it as well. So don't miss that. It's fascinating. And again, you've got to do it once in your life if you're an automobile enthusiast because there's so much you can learn, but also it's so fascinating. Also, Mercedes has a factory tour as well, about 40 minutes away from here in Sindelfingen. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the arrangement, or rather we did make arrangement, but they canceled it for some reason last minute, so we can't see it this time. But I have been to that factory many times, 6 or 7 times at least. It's a massive factory where E-Class and C-Class are built, and that is also an amazing factory tour as well, in addition to Porsche factory. And if you want, you can even go further away and visit an Audi factory. They also have a public tour, and it's quite a comprehensive tour. I've been there at least 5 times, and it's a really interesting tour if you love Audi, or if you just love production or want to see cars in production, because they go through a very comprehensive tour, even longer than either the Mercedes or Porsche. So by coming to Stuttgart, within a short drive, you can see not just the Porsche factory and Porsche Museum, but also Mercedes Museum, Mercedes factory, and also Audi Museum and Audi factory. The Audi Museum is located right at the factory, just a small one, more like an Audi showroom, but there's some stuff to see over there. You have to go to another city to see Audi and Volkswagen in full details, but you do get to see some Audi stuff over there as well. So there's a lot to do. You can easily spend a week here and not finish everything. So we are spending a few days here to visit Porsche, and then we are flying over to Italy to visit Lamborghini and Pagani factory. So you can also do that, because you have to remember, within Europe, all the distances are pretty short. It's just 2 hours away by flight to Italy, which is a beautiful country with many interesting things to do. So it's not just Stuttgart, it's not just Germany, but you can come here and visit other countries such as Italy or even France and make it a week or 2 weeks trip. And if you love cars, wow, there's just so much things to see and so much things to do. And ultimately, I have to give you one more reason to visit Stuttgart. So this is the bonus one, I guess it's the 8th one, is that if you are planning to buy a brand new Porsche, you can buy it and actually pick it up at the factory, not necessarily Stuttgart, could be one of the other factories as well, and then drive it in Europe for a week or 2. The insurance will be covered, and after you drive it, they will ship that car back to US or Canada or anywhere else for that matter where this program exists. And so yes, you can order a Porsche of your choice, your dream car, have it pick up right at the factory, drive it for a couple of weeks or shorter, enjoy your own car, the one you purchased, and have them ship it back for actual delivery to your hometown. So that is perhaps the ultimate things to do, because you get to not only drive and own a brand new Porsche, you get to see it kind of being built or at least being delivered in Germany, and you get to drive it right here in its own hometown of Porsche in Stuttgart. So that's a really cool thing to do. But of course, as I mentioned, there are many reasons to come to Stuttgart. And so if you haven't been here to Germany or Stuttgart or Europe in general, make a trip and then make it into a whole week affair because there's so much to do. I love it. I've been here 10 or 11 times and I still enjoy it, and I still plan to come back again because every time I come back there's so many new things to see. But most of all, I do want to also say how impressed I am with the Taycan. I know that the whole EV industry is struggling a little bit right now and the growth has slowed down and there may be more changes down the road. But if you want to buy a sports machine, a true performance machine that has a Porsche DNA, that has a Porsche character, well, Taycan is the only one. We now have a Porsche Macan EV as well, of course, but this is the original dedicated platform for Porsche in terms of electric car. And you know what, I'm thoroughly impressed because even after driving the Porsche 911 and then now driving this the next day, this thing is super fun to drive, super fast, and in many ways surpasses the 911 in terms of acceleration and capability, because there are things that electric cars can do that perhaps gas engine cars cannot do. And this thing, especially from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100, it's just ridiculously fast, and it's also super quiet. So really enjoyed the time with Porsche Taycan, especially this facelifted version with its beautiful green color. It's gorgeous inside and out. Manufacturing quality looks absolutely fantastic. Drive experience is seamless and memorable. And it's a reminder that Porsche and electric cars or EV can in fact coexist successfully and create a type of experience that no other brands can offer. I'm sure Porsche will debut other electric cars, including the rumored 718 series of sports cars as EV, and maybe at some point 911, although that might not happen for a long time. At least they have a 911 hybrid now, and many other EVs to come. So the experience of owning a Porsche won't be diminished by going to EV, because they really know how to tune cars and to design cars to give you maximum performance and maximum enjoyment. That's what Porsche brand is all about. Personally, I've owned a number of Porsche, including the Macan GTS. In fact, I had 4 different types of Macan GTS over the years, and it is one of the most beautiful experiences, not just because the car itself is amazing, but the dealership actually treats you really well. In some cases, better than Lexus dealership, even though Lexus is right up there as some of the best in terms of customer service. So if you haven't owned a Porsche before, maybe go and take a look at it, especially used one. The prices are quite reasonable if it's a used vehicle, and your experience owning one and driving one might change your life, because it's such a different feel owning a Porsche due to many things, not just the dealer service, but the network of Porsche owners who help each other out and who have fun together by going for special drives and get together and networking. That kind of stuff doesn't exist with Lexus or many other brands. And so I really think that Porsche knows how to take care of its customers and make it special and make it meaningful. And coming to Stuttgart, Germany is one of those things you can do to add that extra special spice in your life, make it fun, and chance to really enjoy cars and enjoy anything to do with Porsche. So I hope you enjoyed my videos about my whole experience right here in Stuttgart, Germany, but also my experience driving the Taycan. Of course, I enjoyed driving the 911 yesterday as well, but Taycan was particularly special to me, being a refreshed model, for being such a cool EV. Anyhow, if you enjoyed my video, please give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and let me know what kind of stuff you want to see in the future. If you want me to do more trips, I will do more international trips and talk about stuff like that that maybe other reviewers don't talk about. And if you haven't done so yet, would you kindly subscribe as well. Until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.